Hey everybody, Todd Crandall, the original sober triathlete, licensed counselor. I've done a few Ironmans, founder of Racing for Recovery, all that stuff. I have been looking forward to bringing this podcast to you today. I have my friend, who I haven't seen in 20 years.
Great friends.
You're a great friend, John Wentworth. Dude, it is awesome to have you here today.
You're going to have me crying already, brother. I'm thankful. I'm grateful. God is good.
Yep. Okay, this is, I do word association when I start these things all the time, right? So I'll give you a word. You give me either the first word that comes back to your mind, or you can even say a phrase.
So this is like trivia and shit.
A little bit, yeah. I'll give you an easy one. Okay. Hockey.
Grant Fuhr.
Sober.
Praise God.
Not sober.
It ain't looking good.
Mother.
Dead.
Suicide.
Mother.
And I get the laughter, even though I know the sting behind that. Family.
Everything.
Cool. All right. Let's get into it by this. How did we meet?
It was a Monday, 19 years ago. I woke up hungover. I'd been in a hockey tournament in Traverse City all weekend, and came home to a girlfriend. Of course, we were in a tumultuous relationship because she was in a relationship with me. There's a common the common factor was always me. God bless her. And I think when you're hungover, nobody when they're drunk goes, "I'm never drinking again." It's always when they're hungover, right? They're like, "I'm never drinking again." And so it was one of those mornings, and I turned on ESPN like I did every morning because I still was chasing that dream of being a professional athlete through others. And boy, this episode comes on. Tom Rinaldi and Stuart Scott. I'll never forget it. I've shown it to a lot of people. I sent it to a lot of people. And the girl that was with me, I'm crying watching this episode about Todd Crandall, right? Mirroring mine. Goalie in hockey. His mother committed suicide. Got into drugs and alcohol. And it's funny when we were in the room over there the other day, and I said I got my ass kicked when I spoke at the first when I came down here for the first time, because I said, people are going around heroin and cocaine and crack and all these things, and I said, well, I'm just an alcoholic, and the guy stands up and goes, alcohol's a drug too, and I was like, holy shit, I'm not talking anymore here, but watching that parallel, and I'm just bawling. And the girl that I was with, was like, you'll cry for TV, but you won't cry for us. I remember that, And I had just gotten into real estate. I just got my real estate license. I was broke as shit, man. I had no money. I was going nowhere. And I emailed you. And I remember the email pretty well. And what's ironic is that had I not gotten in real estate, I probably wouldn't even known how to email you. I mean, literally, right? Because I was training racehorses. There was no emailing going on. And basically it was like, Todd, I just saw your episode on ESPN. If I don't do something quick, I'm going to end up just like my dad, alone. I'm a womanizer, and I need your help. A couple hours later, I was driving, and I get a phone call from a 419 area code, and I know that area code because I used to race horses in Toledo, Ohio. And it was Todd Crandall. And as they say, the rest is almost history. But it took a lot through that. And then I came down and visited you in Sylvania the next day.
Yeah, I didn't think this was going to evoke that kind of emotion in you, which is doing it for me. But the one thing that I think of is I answered it quickly.
100%.
Because I know that feeling, right? And I remember you came down. We met in the basement of the church, right?
Yeah.
And we talked about this today when you came in before we I was joking, so everybody knows. John came down a little bit early today, and I'm like, it's great to see you. Don't say anything. Stop talking. And I knew we would get to this, but it's a good place to transition to. I remember thinking, if this dude doesn't get help from the stuff with respect to your mom, and I remember you telling me about the microwave, which you may or may not get into, but that stuff, I'm like, this won't end the way that I know it could end. So I'm very interested in that first meeting that we had. Was there something that, I said or somebody said at one of our Racing for Recovery meetings, or something that you thought that was new, that you, in that newness, you knew is what you needed?
That I kind of latched onto?
Yes.
Maybe? Honestly, I think what I latched onto was you. I latched onto seeing that it was possible. And I just talked about this with my daughter today, because she's going off to a college preparatory dance thing in North Carolina, and it's the first time she's going without a friend, because now it's real, even though she's going into 10th grade. But she shared with me that she was nervous, and which she's not. And I said, well, you're nervous about the dancing or about the people, since she's going alone? And she goes, I don't know, probably both of it. And I just said, well, you're when you see others doing something, you don't use it as a comparison. You use it as an example of what you can do. And so I think you were that example in a very, God could not have created a better example. A goalie, mother suicide, like all of those parallels. And so it was, if he can do it. And I think the other piece, though, looking back on it, if it was worth him doing it, then maybe it's worth me doing it. And so it wasn't something that, and I'm like this, though, like I just kind of shared with you, and we didn't talk much about it because we'll talk about it. It was the same thing with Ed Milet. Like, I needed that person to be the one. And maybe it's a piece of a father figure that I was looking for. I don't know.
Understood. I'm absorbing what you're saying on many levels, because it's pretty heavy. When you're looking at someone like that, and you kindly said it was me, the thing that I'm really interested in that is, yes, you're looking at me, but I think you're really seeing yourself.
A mirror of yourself,
yes.
100%.
And so what did that mirror present back to you? I know you said, yes, I can do it or whatever, but can you give us more of like what that looked like, and more importantly, what it felt like?
I didn't know it until you just asked it.
I'm pretty good at this.
Because I didn't know what was actually possible. And now when you ask that, and I look back and I see this video in my head, it was the family. That's what I always wanted. And so I think to see that, that's what was possible, right? It wasn't like that, our society's so caught up in money, and it wasn't like, oh, he has these things. It was, he has those people, and I knew, and I had always known that, listen, I should be dad. You should be dad, by all accounts. God had something bigger for us.
Yeah.
And so that question just kind of evokes that memory of seeing you with your family. And I'll never forget, you saying, this has cost me so much. But if I'm helping people, how can it not be worth it?
Now I'm starting to question why I had you on this today, because it's going to start beating me up. That ESPN thing has been the most impactful piece, I think, that we've had of all the stuff that we have. And it was during that time that a lady from, I believe it was Kansas, and I've shared this a lot, she messaged me and said, I saw you on ESPN. Don't lose your family. And I remember thinking at the time, what's this lady talking about? I'm not going to lose my family. And I did. And when you're talking about, you said something to the effect of, you didn't say it was money, but you said, I see this guy that has these things. And you're right, family is the most important thing, because we certainly didn't have any money back then. But as a man, I was behind the eight ball with providing as a man.
Yeah.
So I had found my life's purpose. And when you find your life's purpose, that's worth gold. And I'm like,
Yep.
I'm going to do anything to make this work, which is good. It's a good quality to have. But I didn't see what it was costing my family. And eventually I lost the most important thing over it. And one of the things that I admire about you is you not only acquired that family, you've kept it together as you've healed and as you've become successful. What's that been like?
Everything. I'm glad you brought that up because there's the duality in everything we do, and for me, maybe again, I had you as a model of what I didn't want. Once I saw, and knew those things were happening, and not only did you answer the call when I first reached out, you've also shared with me, along the way, the things that you've dealt with on that side of it too, right? And so, but I will say this, we are almost 20 years by the grace of God. But this sobriety journey, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, if I didn't get my shit together again, I'd be sitting in this chair. Well, I don't know that I'd be in this chair, but that question would have been reframed because I would be in the same place as you're in, which is I would have lost it.
And this is why I go back to, and it's part of as a clinician, I don't like calling myself this, but I am. I'm a trauma specialist of having the ability, not only educationally and credentialing wise, but experience wise with our moms.
Listen, you're most equipped to help the person you used to be.
100%. And that, when I go back to, and I said it here earlier, the stuff about your mom on day one that I met you, and that's what, quote, bit you in the ass.
Yeah.
That you almost lost what you were grateful to have.
Yeah, and, it's funny because I always talk about how, God is always at work in our lives. If you're a Christian, you believe that. And we're either seeing the doors that he's opening or we're not. And again, like I said earlier, the common denominator is always us, right? God is always doing what he is doing. And so I just think there's these moments that we're aware, and because we're aware, we see a different door, and that's the door we choose to walk through, and so this journey that I've, Jen saved my life. Where I'm started to go with this is, getting sober back then was just the start of the journey. And I was sober for probably 2 years. And just in that 2 years, had I not gotten that 2 years, I would not have met Jen. Rocco would not be born. Dahlia would not be born. Everything is different. And then, slowly over time, the same way we hear from so many people, right? It's like, oh yeah, just have a drink. And then it slowly gets its claws back in you. And next thing you know, you wake up and your wife's not in the bedroom anymore. She's in the other room. And I experienced that, so I'm so grateful that you see us still together.
Yeah.
Right. Because the story could have been different, but it all went back to, I knew I had to figure this thing out. And I knew that I could because I had evidence of it in the past from meeting you.
I was honored and privileged. Those are two words I think that get used a lot.
It's an honor to meet you.
Yeah,
right?
Privileged and honored when you asked me to be in your wedding.
Yeah.
And I remember, being there and looking at that and going, I had this.
Yeah.
And it was
at that time you were dealing with shit.
Yeah. And looking at that and like, I know this is a great thing. And in the back of my mind, it was the same thing. I'm like, I know this guy, it felt the same way I did with our moms killing ourselves and the impact that has. And I do want to talk about that in a second. But it was one of those things where I'm like, I know this can work if that gets
Yeah.
addressed. And if it doesn't, you know,
Yeah.
it's gonna struggle. And you validated that. Yeah.
Well, 100%. And, you know, I mean, shit, I named our son after you, right? Rocco Jameson Crandall Wentworth.
awesome.
You know, what's really interesting is that the other pivotal person in my life at the time was David Jameson, and he was the best man, and you were the best man,
Yeah.
right? So, like, literally from ESPN to the best man in a wedding. And so, Rocco Jameson Crandall Wentworth. I tried to get him to come today, but he had hockey practice.
What
Plus,
kind of
he's like, Ohio,
what kind of equipment did you get him when he started playing goalie?
Well, so, you know, listen, Rocco is extremely dedicated to something. It's just a matter of how long it lasts. And I think he finally found the passion in this thing, and so it's lasting. So I went and bought used shit online. I found a guy. I mean, the world is a very small place. I found all this equipment in California. It all fit him perfectly. And I get on the phone with this cat, and it wasn't on eBay. It was on some other website. I don't know what it was, but he's going to ship it to me. He said, "Where do you live?" And I said, "Fenton, Michigan." He's like, "Oh, my roommate's girlfriend's from Fenton." And then they start talking, and he goes, "Oh, you're the big realtor there." I mean, crazy. The world is, you know, a very small place. Anyway, so it was all Warrior.
Okay.
Now he's gone, and he's bought himself Brian's glove and blocker.
Okay.
And he still has the Warrior pads for now.
Okay. Some of the people right now are going, "What in the world
Yeah,
are these
exactly.
guys talking about?"
Exactly.
But yeah.
Well,
maybe
listen, if you're a goalie,
You
like
know.
we are,
Yeah.
goalie equipment is everything.
yeah, and that's what I was asking because I was using Vaughn back.
Yeah, well,
when-
so
oh,
was I.
God, yeah.
Yep.
Yep. Let's do the heavy stuff. I want you to, or I'm asking you to, and you don't have to say what you don't want to
I'll
say.
share
whatever.
anything, and I want to say this too. Honestly, this stuff is not that heavy compared to what we just talked about.
It's true.
You know what I mean?
Well-
because this is this family dynamic is the thing that is, you know, my family is everything to me, and yet sometimes I feel like I just do a half-assed job of it. You know, but Dahlia, our daughter, her middle name, since we're on middle names, I just want to share this. Her middle name is Joe, which was my mom's middle name.
Beautiful.
You know, and Dahlia is the light of my life. I don't love one kid any more than any other, but I see a lot of what I maybe wanted or hoped to see in my mom in her.
So I named my daughter Skylar Louise. Louise after my mom.
Really?
Yes. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
And she named my granddaughter is named Lennon Louise. So she carried her name out. And
Wow.
someday you'll know what this feels like. You know, when you have grandkids and your awesome son Christian is sitting off camera throwing paintballs at us or whatever. People can't see. I didn't ask Skylar to do that.
Yeah.
She did it on her own. She told me that, and that really hit home to me. I'm like, wow, she's taken that legacy.
It's like the video we just watched, right? You're the one, and now that legacy is living on because of the differences and the changes and the choices that you've made.
Well, and with respect to trauma, which we'll talk about some of this stuff right now. And first of all, before I do that, your response saying that the subject of your mom killing herself is not as heavy as the other stuff, that's an impact of trauma. Because I've always been like that. It's like, oh, no big deal. But it's like, it really is.
Sure.
And if you don't understand that, or when you understand that, I think all the good stuff even becomes more appreciated. So,
You know what I just thought of, and I don't know why. I've never been to her grave. Isn't that wild? And it comes up occasionally in my mind, like honestly, 2 days ago. And I mean, it could be 2 years I don't think about this, but 2 days ago I was like, yeah, I wonder if I should go to my mom's grave this year.
never you have.
No, I've never been.
Interesting.
Why? You know, my mindset, right? I'm saying this as if it is. Why would I? She doesn't deserve me to stand there.
Yep, I heard
Right.
that.
Now,
Yep.
that's not truly how I feel. That's the anger or the little
Absolutely.
boy in me, right?
Yes.
But I don't know. I think that it's something that I've always thought about, and I just feel like I'm getting closer to a place of, and honestly, this is, I'm trying not to swear, but this morning, I came flying home from the barn because I got a little racehorse I'm taking care of and getting ready to come here, and I started thinking about my dad. And I know he'll watch this. But a lot of times, I spent a lot of time thinking about all the bad things. And today I was just like, but what about all the good things that he did?
Yeah.
And then I was like, wow, that allows me to see a different person.
Can you do the same for your mom?
I mean, if I'm being very honest, I do not have one single memory of her that isn't abuse. I was just, I think, too young. And so I remember the trauma, right? I remember the sexual abuse and those things. I remember finding her dead. But I honestly don't have a single memory. Now I have photos, right? And I guess I can do that with photos of birthday parties. Yeah, she threw birthday parties for me. But I just don't have a memory that I can draw on.
What's your earliest solid memory? What age were you when you had your first solid memory?
Oh, shit, I have no idea. Of her or just in general?
In general.
I have no idea.
Like,
I mean,
10?
I guess I guess maybe I'm answering that question without even realizing it. It was of those things that she was doing to me. But I don't remember. I mean, I was 5 years old, 6 years old.
See, I'm asking this because
We're in a counseling session, y'all.
Yeah,
bear with us.
It's worthwhile
Yeah.
because people, when I started asking questions like this, people inevitably always would say, dude, nobody's ever asked me that. And I'm like, well, here's the reason. And I'll give you an example. My first memory as a kid, I'm 10 years old, 4th grade, and I'm getting ready to go out and play soccer. Okay. Now, there's a difference of a memory in being told things that have happened. Or you mentioned birthday parties. That's one of the pictures I have with my mom. I'm probably 3 getting an old Hot Wheels racetrack.
Yeah.
Now, I don't remember that birthday party, but I remember seeing the picture. So there's a difference. But trauma, people that have trauma in childhood, a lot of times the onset of that first memory is delayed. Because if you talk to like a normal person, they'll tell you, oh, I remember this at 2 or at 3. But the people who have been through some stuff, it's 7, 8,
Really?
9, 10. Yes. And that's the body protecting itself from the age of impact, if you will. So that's why I hear you, and I still don't know the difference of, or can you distinguish between like a photo you've seen or something that's been told to you versus I vividly remember this.
I don't remember that birthday party that I'm talking about, and that was before she killed herself, but after we moved out of the trailer, right? And so from the abuse and all the other stuff that kind of went on there to the new house, the new beginning, I don't remember anything.
What would you say to her, or actually 2 things. What would you say to her today? And what would you ask her today?
I would say I did it anyway.
Yeah.
And then what I would ask her, I don't know. You know what? I don't know that I have a question that I would ask her. The little boy in me would say, why did you love me? All of those things. But I know that she did, I don't know that I would ask her anything.
I'll tell you where this has evolved for me. If I was asked this earlier, I would have said, why did you do this to me? And now I would say, thank you.
Yeah.
Because it's made me who I am today.
God is a funny dude.
Yeah.
I mean, just last night, Dahlia, I go over to her dance studio, and she said, do you want to hear my new solo song? Or the song that she just won national championship for her solo, ages 15 to 19, and she's 15.
That's awesome.
I mean, she's an incredible dancer, but she loves it. She has a passion for it. She has a dance room. She comes home from dance practice and goes in the dance room. I mean, it's what typical we would say, you're going to burn them out. She just does it on her own, but she plays a song for me. And I played it for Christian on the way down. He's like, "Oh, that's great. We're not going to be crying at all during that solo." But essentially, in the song, it says, "Thank you."
Yeah.
And I say that a lot. I talk about that. Like, I would never change anything.
Yeah.
Because he wouldn't be sitting there. And Dahlia and Rocco and Jen and the people in my life and I wouldn't change anything. It's made me who I am today. And that's what that song, all of the hurt along the way has made me who I am today.
Beautiful. And you never know who's going to hear you talking today that it helps them.
Well, and I think that's the thing is, just as you were the hope for me, you got to find the hope. Who's the hope for you? If you're watching and know that it is possible. We keep saying that, and on the door it says, with sobriety, anything is possible. The truth is, it is all possible. Yep. But sometimes I think people just chase the wrong things,
Yeah. Right. Moving forward from this.
Yeah, back to your mom.
Yeah, get back to it, right? Yeah.
I mean, you know what? Honestly, I guess when you ask that question, the vivid memory that I have most is when I found her dead, when I found her... and that because also I was at the oldest at that point because that was the last time I saw her. But I remember that vividly because these other things, I have visions of them, but I remember finding her. I remember swearing at her. You know what I mean? Like, I remember that moment. That's very clear.
I remember when you shared that with me, people who have... suffered from stuff, and I'm not saying everybody doesn't suffer, everybody suffer, but stuff like this, the empathy that we have for others. And I remember hearing you tell me this, and my instinct was, well, God, at least I didn't have that. Right? I didn't find her.
Yeah.
I didn't. Some of the other stories you shared with me about that, I'm like, well, I never experienced that. I don't even know who this person was. They both suck.
Yeah.
But that empathy was raining loud and clear in my head, and it also was a motivating thing. Like, hearing you describe that, I'm like, yeah, I had some stuff or whatever, but I can do this. Look at what this person does. And even still with people that come to Racing for Recovery, when I listen to their stories, it's like, wow.
Yeah.
If they can overcome, I certainly can keep going in whatever I'm going through now, business or whatever that we were talking about.
Perspective is a beautiful thing.
Yes.
You can always find somebody who's got it worse.
Yeah.
That's got it worse.
Yeah.
But
what was hockey for you then as a kid? Let's talk about what it was like.
Sports in general was everything for me. Because my dad is I think about what hurts me always the most isn't what I experienced, it's thinking about what he experienced. Being at work and getting that phone call. You can tell that bothers me more than anything. And I feel for him for that. And when I look at it, just like I said earlier, like I look at this morning, for some reason I started seeing this different perspective. Yeah. And, but my dad struggled. He drank a lot. And I think, first of all, he's been sober now, I don't know. He found Jesus. I actually sent him to our men's retreat at the church, which is a funny story because I dropped him off. He didn't know he was going, and I just left him there. And picked him up 2 days later, and he's been sober ever since. But in that journey, he was a heavy drinker, and I guess I'm a little reluctant to share too much because I know you're watching, Dad. But he knows too, and it just very belittling to me, right? I'll never forget. Sports was everything to me because that was my escape, right? And I was a great athlete because I grew up with everybody around me 4 or 5 years older than me. And then, as you grow and you do different things, and like I was a quarterback in football, and then I quit growing, and so I that's when I really focused on hockey. I didn't really start playing hockey till 8th grade. But hockey was everything for me, and I had this ambition in the USA hockey team and the Olympics and all of those things. And I never forget. I said to my dad one day, "I'm going to be an All-American," and he said, "You already are. You're an All-American fuck up." And these were the things that he would just over and over and over and over kind of beat me down with, and thank God he did. It was his way of it was his way of hardening me so that when I experienced something that could never be equivalent of what I had already experienced that it wouldn't be that big of a deal, I guess. I don't know, but it was a nonstop barrage of insults and belittling. You'll never amount to anything. You're a fuck up just like your mom, just on and on and on and on and on. And thank you. Because here I run this business, I've got all these people, and there's nothing anyone's going to do that's going to compare to that. Wow. So it's like, I go back, like I wouldn't change a thing. Now, again, seeing a different perspective, I don't understand, but I look at, he showed up every day.
Yeah.
He went to work every day. There were some nights he didn't come home, but he went to work every day, right? And he provided in such an incredible way. I mean, I had a freaking pool. We had a half basketball court, whatever goalie equipment I needed. And then I'd be at the rink, I'd get scored on, and I'd look over at him because he'd be standing right behind the fucking net every time. He goes, "You fucking suck." Right? And so I think it was like drill sergeant. And finally it was like, okay, watch this. And so I believe that I've kind of taken on this, whatever you tell me I can't do attitude. Oh, thank you. Now watch. And that includes this business, going from when I met you, I didn't have a pot to piss in. And, I was going nowhere with my life. And meeting you, meeting Jen, I met Jen on Match.com. I went on Match.com because I was sober, and I'm like, well, how am I going to start dating now? Because going to Mo Doggies at midnight is not going to be the key, right? I'm not going to meet. I always had that vision. I wanted to get married and have a family, right? Like I wanted to have that. And I go on Match.com, and I'm like, oh my God, what a debacle this is. And then all of a sudden, there's a new person on there without a photo, and I'm like, welcome to the shit show or something like that, right? And then she replied, and next thing you know, we're talking. I still haven't seen her yet. And our first date was when I was skating with the Generals, and then Darren McCarty came back to play, and we went on a date. I met her at a gas station. took her to a hockey game on a date. And the funniest damn thing is that a buddy of mine, Mark Herring, was with us. Only God can do
that's
these
a keeper
things.
Right there.
Oh, no doubt about it. Bro, we went to dinner. Well, not dinner. We went to Redwood Lodge after the game, and I was drinking cappuccinos like they're going out of style, right? And I told her everything. I mean, just everything. And I thought, we'll see what happens with that. If she sticks around, then I guess there's probably a good shot. And she stuck around. And
I'm going to go back
yeah,
a second,
please do.
too. No, because that's good. I'm interested in what the girl said that you were with the day you saw the ESPN thing. I know she made a comment about, like, well, why can't you cry for us or whatever?
Right.
But when you started to make an effort to make the change, what were her thoughts?
I don't know, because, frankly, I feel like I probably cut her off.
Okay.
Because I had to.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that that's the other thing that is so difficult for people, is that you're gonna have to cut people off, and they're probably gonna be the people that are closest to you, and a lot of times it's gonna be family, and that's in business too. By the way, I see that a lot.
Yeah.
I don't really recall, but I can only imagine, right? Because I'm sure she heard me say I was gonna quit drinking. A
million times.
Yeah, exactly, right? So I'm sure it was something along those lines. But truly, yeah, I kind of just distanced myself from her because it's what I needed to do, and then met Jen, and then I would talk to Maureen was her name, and again, her family is so good to me. I mean, during that time, the few years prior to that, I lived with them for a while. They took care of Christian. I mean, I certainly wasn't the man that I am today in that relationship, right?
Yeah.
But again, that's the journey.
Yes.
And hopefully I toughened her up a little bit for down the road.
Yeah. Here's a question that's related to that too. I want people to know this. I was up north, as they say, in Michigan. I took the kids to some ski lodge because they love snowboarding and all that stuff. And driving home, 23 South, and I look and I see your billboard.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, wow, man, Look at my dude go. You know, and that's what led to eventually me contacting you. The question in that, relating to your success, what are some of the hardest things that you've endured in business that have taught you a valuable life lesson?
Yeah, I mean, I've been very fortunate because I started so low that it was hard to experience anything very tumultuous because I was broke the whole time. And then as that's, we've grown and it's become, what it is today, people are probably like, well, what the heck's he do? What's the billboard? Right. But I think what I've really learned, because you talk earlier about empathy. I'm a very empathetic person because I believe this. Everybody has had, people like you said, hear my story. Like I never had that happen to me. It doesn't matter what happened to us. The most difficult thing we've ever lived through is the most difficult thing we've ever lived through. And so my most difficult thing and your most difficult thing are equally difficult to us, even though from an outside perspective, you're like, damn, that shit's crazy.
Yeah.
But for us, it's the most difficult thing we've lived through. So I understand that about people. And so I understand everybody has had that. Mm-hmm. And I also know that where I came from, which was, broke as shit, that everybody has an opportunity to change their lives also. And I like to facilitate that for people. Like I like to go find the person that is the underdog that that they don't even believe in themselves yet. Yep. And change their life. And that's what I love doing. And so as we've grown this business, it went from me hustling, day in and day out in the field to now really focus on growing the people inside of the business.
Our parallels of our lives are just uncanny, and that's exactly what we do here, is helping people, again, understand the trauma that they've endured, but also at the same time say, I can use this as an asset to bring my true qualities out and go out in life and get it.
Yeah.
And even in this, life lessons that we're talking about, I'll go back to the word association too, and I want to have a conversation about this. When I say the word entitlement, what do you first think of?
I think fuck you. I can't stand that.
Me either, man.
People say I deserve it. You don't deserve shit.
Right.
You earn what you get, and you earn it by doing it the right way, with integrity and intent, with good. I believe God. Again, God is always at work, and so if your intent is poor, you might find short-term success, but you're going to get snuffed out sooner or later.
John, you just said that answer to that question that I wasn't quite expecting, but I am not surprised in the conviction that you said it with. That to me is another example of overcoming the stuff that you've endured. When you're like, hey man, nobody gets a pass.
Yeah.
I earned where I'm at. And I love you said that, because that's the thing that, I take some flack for whatever I've done and haven't done and all that stuff. And when I'm feeling good and confident, I'm like, I earned this. Yeah. Nobody gave it to me. So you're not entitled to nothing except the opportunity to go get it.
You know what I think we're entitled to? God's grace. And I think that, for me, I never grew up in the church. I never went to church. I oddly enough, I would pray on my own. I don't know, not all the time, but I remember saying the Our Father and stuff. And, but after I got sober and met Jen and my career started going well, and I was doing okay, I could pay my bills. And I kept getting asked to go to this men's retreat at a church that I didn't belong to, because I didn't belong to any church. And I was like, no. And then finally, selfishly, I was like, well, shit, all these different people are asking me from the community. Maybe it'll be good for my business. I went in that sucker and cried for 2 days straight. And I mean, bawled. I met the Holy Spirit. I forgave my mom. I forgave my dad. I forgave myself. And I left there a different person. And so when somebody says like, oh, there's my beautiful wife now. Hi, Pumpkin. You're on speakerphone on a podcast.
Hi, I'm sorry. Do you need me to leave an Amex for you, or did you find yours?
Sure, you can leave me one. I'm literally recording right now.
Oh, did you find yours?
I have not, but who cares?
This is a first.
I have a card. Do you want me to leave mine or not?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, love you.
Love you too, baby.
That's a first, doing a podcast.
Listen,
I
that's
like
my wife, man.
taking
She
calls
answers, I'm
during
calling.
the podcast. Yeah, no, it's good. Priorities.
You know, I don't even know where we were.
You're talking about church, seeing the
yeah,
Holy Spirit.
and so, you know, experiencing that and coming out of there and seeing everything a little bit differently, you know, and really, it allowed me to. Now, here's a very interesting piece of this, though, is that it brought on my drinking again. You know, I found forgiveness from my mom. I found forgiveness from my dad. I found forgiveness for myself. And then they asked me to tell my story, which I've never told to anyone other than, you know, somebody like you, right? A counselor, something like that. But now I'm sharing it with people in my community. And we kept having Tuesday meetings every Tuesday. And then 6 months later, I was going to be one of the speakers and I was going to give my testimony, my witness. And in preparing for that, you know, it brought up all those things on a very deep level. And I remember I would leave on a Tuesday and I would go to the bar by myself and drink. And, I mean, it was Guinness, so it wasn't really like drinking.
Classic.
But, you know, it kind of re-sparked a lot of that stuff. And I think that was part of the slow spiral because 3 times in a row they had me speaking. And so 3 times in a row, I'm sharing my witness and, you know, sharing my story and et cetera, et cetera. And, you know, I think that was a little bit of a driver of what got me back to drinking. And then plus I've got all of these new relationships and, you know, I've got some money and, you know, all of that stuff and just slowly.
I think what you just said right there, I mean, you've said some profound stuff, but for people that are getting sober and hopefully remaining that way, that piece that you just said is profound. And this, I wanted to ask you about this because you talk about God. I really don't like social media, but I do love it when it hits for the right reasons. And I told you, I would see you pop up sporadically.
Yeah.
And one of the first times when I saw you coming back up, you had talked about you got sober again, and I had known that you were being public with it. And I'm like, how does this guy feel about knowing he chose to drink again and having the courage to get back up and do it again? Because I don't want to experience that.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about this, you're doing talks or sharing your testimony, but you're still sitting in that bar by yourself. What was that like on your conscience?
Such a good word. I you know, if you ask me what's a great trait of yours, right? People would think I would say, oh, you know, this or that or something in business. I am really in tune with my conscience, and I make a lot of decisions now based on that. I'll give you an example. When I used to travel a lot for work, right? By choice, right? These are conferences. It's not like I had a boss telling me to go there. If it would weigh on my conscience not to be away from my family, I would not go. When it didn't, then I felt, okay, it was okay to go. And I feel like this is God. Our conscience is through God, through the Holy Spirit. And so just paying attention to that, you know, something very simple happening in a day, but it not sitting right on your conscience. I want to go back and absolve that. I want to go make that right, no matter what that is. I'll give you another example. A guy asked me about somebody, and I said, yeah, and I wasn't very kind, right? And I'm like, well, the guy's never run a business, so how the hell is he going to help you with his business? And I left there, and I was like, hey, bro, I just wanted to let you know. You know what I mean? So I'm very in tune with that. Now, there's a duality to that as well. It means I'm almost in self-judgment all the time.
Yeah.
But I don't do it from a judgment standpoint. I do it from like a third-party observer. And I'm not in judgment of myself. I'm more in improvement of myself.
That's beautiful. Right on.
And it never ends.
No, we call it here, this is a never-ending journey of self-betterment.
Yeah.
And we mentioned this earlier, too. Like, when you know you have this licked, you die of natural causes, right?
Yeah.
Then you've got it. Until then, you don't.
Yeah.
And if you think you do, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because I certainly don't want to have that feeling of, oh, I've made it, and it's like, that is so...
No, we've never made it. I
No.
mean, that's the thing. You've never made it. The only time you make it is when you make it.
You know? Yeah. What in wrapping up,
Wrapping up. Shit, I thought we were getting started.
Oh man, yeah. But what do you want somebody? You're talking right now on this podcast. What do you want people to learn from what you shared today? How can somebody listening to you benefit today?
I think first and foremost, you got to want it, and then you got to never stop pursuing it.
True.
And I also think there's a difference between chasing something and pursuing it, because anything you chase is going to run away, and usually we chase out of desperation, And when we pursue something, and by the way, you might catch something once in a while when you're chasing it. But as soon as you let go of it, the shit's running again. Wow. When you pursue something, it's more, in my mind, it's like, okay, how do I figure it out to get it forever? And that's a journey, and I kind of mentioned this to you, like, for me, for years, I'm back in this fucking fight again. And it becomes exhausting. And, you've got to reach a place of surrender. You've got to reach a place, and usually the ego is too built up to do that. And the ego is just the mask of what you're pretending isn't bothering you or is, who you are, but it isn't who you are. And I think, by the way, finding Jesus for me was a big one because, like, right now, I don't care what I look like, sound, none of that matters to me anymore because I know who I am.
Beautiful.
I'm a son of God. I'm a father. I'm a friend. Yeah. And if you don't like me, I don't care. It's okay.
What does that feel like?
Freeing. It's so freeing, bro. I mean, one of my coaches, John Sheplack, right? He taught me this. He said, listen, if you spend all your time trying to be everything to everyone, you'll end up nobody to no one.
Yes.
And that always sticks with me, when somebody, because I get bashed all the time. Yeah. It don't mean anything to me. To go back to your question, like, pursuit is, you gotta stay in a never-ending pursuit, right? Of sobriety or really whatever it is that you're trying to go after in life. But understanding also is that the way it works for somebody else may not be the way that it works for you. So for me, going day by day didn't work for me. And I know some people it does. So if it's working for you, don't change it. I needed to just be done forever.
Yep.
I needed to surrender to it and be done forever. And when I got sober this last time, this forever time, like I knew, I've never thought about drinking in 2.5 years. I've never been offered a drink in 2.5 years. I think probably because I'm so public about it, right? But it's just, I can't even friggin' explain it. It's different. It's different. I can't explain it. But when I was telling you earlier, I paid to go to this conference to talk to Ed Milet about my drinking because I kind of was enamored by his story with his dad. And I went up to him. He was just getting ready to go on stage and speak. And I said, when you get a chance, I really want to talk to you about my drinking. And he's stirring his coffee. And he goes, how bad is it? And I go, it's fucking bad enough, I'm telling you. And he said, well, what do you think's causing it? And he's stirring his coffee. And I said, I got time and I got money. And then he did something that was really interesting. He goes, it's interesting you say that. I actually have a friend like that right now. But this is God. And I just have to share this because I'm shaking right now. Shit, I can't even open the shit. I'm so shaky. So he says to me, have you ever thought about checking yourself in? And I said, for the first time ever, I have. And he said, there's a place that I heard really good things about. He goes, but I got to go and we'll talk later. And so he shoots up on stage and he starts to talk about the brain on stage. And he starts to talk about neurochemistry and how you can actually, now he's talking business, right? How you're tricking the brain. And he's talking about you take 3 things from the past, the greatest 3 things that have ever happened in your life, and then you tie them to 3 things in the future that you want to occur, but you play it as if it's already occurred. Well, so for me, what I was doing was taking the bad things and then playing them into the drinking, right? And so I would be thinking about not drinking all of the time, not drinking, don't drink. But what am I thinking about? Drinking. And then he was talking about, when you're in the gym, play that game film over and over when you're in a heightened state of awareness. But this is a positive film, and I'm playing the don't drink film. I mean, I'd be in the gym at 6:30 in the morning, hungover, doing fucking burpees, thinking about not drinking. And then by noon, I'd be drinking. I'm a fucking 50-year-old man doing this. I mean, it's ridiculous, right? And And so he goes on stage and he talks about this, and now I'm in front of 50 people, and I raise my hand. I ask a question. I said, obviously I just share with you my drinking, and I asked the question about playing this game film. Is this impacting me negatively the way that I'm doing it? He said, yeah, 100%. You need to switch that, and you need to create a new game film, and you need to start playing it all the time, which I did, and I did this all of the time, and it works. That night, let me fast forward. That night, we have this big dinner. And it's outside. I don't even remember what state we were in. There's a bar, and there's a Aerostream trailer, and in the trailer is a cigar bar. I never had a cigar in my life, but I knew which bar I wasn't going to. So I go in the cigar bar, and he goes, "You want a cigar?" I go, "I guess. I've never had one." He goes, "Okay, we'll try this one." I go outside, and this little French guy comes up to me and goes, "Thanks so much for sharing today about your drinking, because I'm really struggling." I said, "Oh," so we start talking. Now, everybody's dressed, suit and tie, right? We're having this conversation. All of a sudden, I didn't even see the guy walk up. He's standing next to us, and he's in a sweatsuit. He goes, "What are you guys talking about?" And I'm an open book, right? And so we're talking about, alcohol and drinking and, da-da-da. And I tell him the story. And he says, "Have you ever thought about checking yourself in?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Actually, Ed asked me about that today." I said, "What are you doing here?" He goes, "Oh, I'm your speaker for tomorrow." So now I know he knows Ed, right? And I said, "Well, yeah, Ed asked me that." And he goes, "Well, there's a place in Tennessee." Now, Ed had just said this. He goes, "And my friend runs it." So now I go in my phone and I pull up this, and I said, "Is it this?" And he goes, "Yeah, that's it." I never checked myself in. I just made a decision right then to quit drinking. The next morning, I called a buddy of mine, Damon West, who I mentioned to you earlier, the guy that was in prison. And I'm explaining to him the whole story. He's like, "Holy shit, that's crazy." And I'm telling him I'm thinking about checking myself in. He goes, "You can go spend all the money you want. Until you decide to quit drinking, you're going to drink again." He goes, "You need to make a decision of what you want."
Well, you shared a little bit about this before. You said, time and money.
Yeah.
Right? But when you heal from what is leading you to drink, time and money become an asset of doing service.
100%.
And that's the difference.
100%.
Because you're right. Unhealed trauma with time and money, that's a disaster.
Yeah. Well, and I don't mind it's a devil's workshop.
Yeah.
Right? And so, but yes, 100%. And then the flip of that is if you have time and money, now you can really do some good.
Absolutely.
And that's the beautiful part of it.
How can people get a hold of you if they want to buy real estate of any kind, work in real estate? How do they get a hold of you?
Don't call me to buy real estate. No, I'm playing. Obviously, I own a real estate company, but this is certainly not about that. I don't know. You can follow me on Facebook, John Wentworth. What is it? John Wentworth 3rd, 33111. I don't mess with Facebook or Instagram a whole lot. I'm not cool enough for that shit, but I'm sure we have one. But John Wentworth, follow me. I don't know. What are you asking?
That's it.
Yeah.
Just if somebody wants to get a hold, the people will contact you from watching this.
And listen, one of the things that it was funny because as I sat down in your office and you jumped on the phone, I scrolled Facebook and there's a guy that I helped get sober. And it was 2 weeks after I got sober and I was asked to speak, right? So I love speaking and I love sharing my story but then I draw back because I'm like, just like today when I start talking about my dad, I draw back because, gosh, I don't want to hurt anybody. Yeah. And Shep Black, my coach, because, I speaking, writing a book, I keep waiting to do that because I didn't want to hurt my grandmother because my grandmother never knew that my mom molested me. She never knew any of this stuff, right? Well, now she's passed. And so I go, well, my uncle, so it's like I keep passing the buck, if you will. But, shit, I don't even know what I was saying.
You'll know when it's right.
Well, impacting people is what I love doing, and so if someone reaches out, I'm an open book. I'll help anybody that I can.
Right on.
So.
I appreciate you coming on today, man.
Bro.
It's been good.
Great day.
Yeah.
Great day.
Right on.
Very honored, and very grateful. And I'm very proud of you. I mean, to come here and see this place and know how much you've sacrificed to make this happen for others.
I appreciate that, man. Yeah, this has been good. Share this podcast. John Wentworth, everybody. If you or a loved one is struggling with addiction, mental health issues, contact Racing for Recovery. We're here to help you. Take it easy.
Amen.